Hey, momentum, ho, momentum. Want to bring you the latest talk that we're going to be doing today. It's going to be on fiber. I hope you tune in and learn a little bit about what we're going to be talking about and why it's so important for you to actually get fiber in your daily diet. We're going to go over what fiber is, what some technical terms are of it, well, a number of different varieties of it, where it comes from, where it shows up. We'll go over specific gram counts, where we will go over how much you should be eating, and you might be shocked at the numbers there. Chances are you're probably not eating enough. And once we fill you up with a little bit more fiber, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be feeling full and satiated and pretty content with all that. Other things that we'll be going over, places that you actually find fiber and that you wouldn't think. Go over some stats from some studies and whatnot. Hello, Terry. Hello, good evening. How it relates to disease, not getting enough, and how that kind of impacts you. Then some downsides, okay? And then just kind of go over a variety of different summaries there. Um, so basically, when we are looking to get fiber, it comes in a variety of different sources from vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Okay, that's like 6 or 7 different places. Okay, this is all great for your overall health and disease prevention. That you'll be surprised at how much the fiber actually constitutes in disease prevention. Okay, so what is fiber? Well, it is a non-digestible polysaccharide. So basically means it's a complex form of carbohydrates, and poly meaning many, saccharide meaning sugar, and that's kind of what carbohydrates are: polysaccharides, monosaccharides. Okay, and what the polysaccharides do is that they ultimately give plants their structure. Okay, it's kind of like, think of the cell wall of a the plant cell wall itself. Okay, so there's 2 different types of fiber. Okay, we have soluble and insoluble. Okay, soluble is viscous, fermentable, and it is able to lower your blood sugar. It also is digestible in terms of water. Water really kind of impacts it, and it turns into like a gel-like substance. Whereas insoluble is a way to bulk up your bowels and stool and improve mobility. And that's important that we're getting a good blend of both, because we want to make sure that things are moving and operating as they should. Okay, so a variety of different types of fibers. We're going to get a little technical here. So we have beta glucans. Okay, this is found in like baker's yeast, mushrooms. There's different grains that it's in, seaweed. Okay, cellulose, which is part of the actual plant cell walls. Okay, it's a rigid structure, and you can think of things like trees. It's very rigid and hard. We have chitin, and where that is found in is in fungi and some exoskeletons, so animals that have hard outer shells. We have fructans. Okay, this is found in a bunch of different vegetables, grains, barley, leeks, different prebiotics, garlic, onions. Okay, those are prebiotics. We've gone over prebiotics before. Gums such as seaweed, barley bran, tree saps, and different seeds. Lignins. Okay, this is found in plant cell walls, so it's kind of going back into what makes up the cellular walls of the plants. We've got non-digestible dextrins, which are plant starches, non-digestible uh, oligosac oligosaccharides. Say it one more time faster. Oligosaccharides. There we go. Um, this is found in like milk and lactose. Okay. Fructo oligosaccharides is found more in like fruit and inulin. Inulin you actually find in usually added into products such as like your Fiber One bars. It's a popular thing that manufacturers will add in to help beef up the actual fiber count on those particular food items. We have pectin, apples, apricots, guava, citrus type stuff. Citrus peels are actually quite a bit of contain about 30% of the pectin there. And last up we have resistant starches. Okay, so we have seeds, legumes, we got whole grains, potatoes, corn, green bananas. So the greener, the less ripe they are, the more fiber can be found in them. Okay, now this is all the things of grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes account for about 85% of the fiber in the U.S. diet, but there are other foods that take up the last 15%. And so this is somewhat shocking, but Splenda, Apple Jacks, things that are intentionally fibered up and fortified because they don't actually have any type of fiber in them. They actually can then claim that they do have fiber and that they are healthy, quote unquote. Okay, so those are different. The other 15% is going to range in those type of items that aren't typically found in nature. So imagine they have it on the market. Splenda is they have a gram of fiber per pack of Splenda. Okay, so I guess you could meet your or kind of get 3 or 4 grams of fiber if you are eating a lot of Splenda. Not necessarily recommended. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why fiber is so important, okay, is that back in 1972, the scientists came up with a dietary fiber hypothesis, okay, suggested that common GI diseases such as colon cancer, diverticulitis, appendicitis were all due to the lack of fiber in the diet, okay. It's not hard to see how this correlation is kind of put together. As we speak, that Americans consume about 15 grams of fiber per day. Okay, that's slightly higher for men, slightly less for women. So in general, we'll talk a little bit further down about what the total intake is for fiber, recommended fiber. And as I was going through this, kind of helped educate me in terms of I've always heard in terms of baseline fiber intakes, we're looking for about 14 grams per 1,000 calories. Okay, so if you're eating like 1,500 calories, we're looking for something roughly like 21 grams to 25 grams or so. But we could even be looking to bump that up. That's one of the few things that I kind of learned here was actually I'm going to be recommending more fiber for you because ultimately one of the main things that I want you to take away is let's drink lots of water, let's eat enough protein, let's have high fiber foods, and you're going to be so full you're not going to want anything else. Cravings are going to subside, you're going to be full constantly, and you're going to be really feeling good about your nutritional choices if you lean toward those. We'll talk about different foods and what their fiber counts are. So, some meals that I have, I'll have over 15 grams of fiber in one meal. It's just kind of how it is. Like those are what my like today I had oatmeal and some kidney beans, and for 2 separate meals. And I've had a fair amount of fiber just in those 2 meals today. Not to mention the brought my super shake smoothie with broccoli and carrots and apple and orange and a lot of high fiber foods. So here's something that most of America eats is refined sugars, oils, dairy products, and alcohol. You know, this might sound familiar. They have no fiber in them, and they end up ultimately comprising up about 48% of the energy consumed by the average American in the typical Western diet. Okay, so that's kind of a lot. Refined sugar, oils, dairy products, and alcohol. Again, those are things that definitely within moderation, not the majority of the diet. Okay. One thing found was that individual bias, that most people, most adults, when they were eating less than 20 grams of fiber, they didn't know how much fiber they were taking, but when it was actually measured out, that they were actually eating under 20 grams per day, and they felt that was enough. Okay. And so that ends up not being enough as we're kind of going through this. They felt it was about right, and it's definitely not. So coming up here shortly, we'll dive into what some general numbers are. Then another interesting fact is that white flour in the typical American diet, these 2 foods provide the most resource for fiber in the diet. And the one was white flour, and 2 is white potatoes. So not the best options as far as getting enough fiber in your diet. Okay, so when we're doing this, we might want to think of something like legumes, and we'll dive into those numbers. But only 6% of Americans eat legumes on a regular basis, whereas most people are eating a lot of high calorie, low fiber foods. Okay, so that is not cool. Now, some health problems. Talk about that real quick. So if you're consistently not eating enough fiber, then we have health issues going on. Okay, cardiovascular health, high blood fats. What happens? Fiber helps bind and eliminate blood cholesterol and fat that's floating around in blood, so the body will actually handle those if you're eating enough fiber. If you're not, then those things are floating around, and you know what happens with fat in the blood, and ends up causing some clogs up in here in the arteries. Not so good. Okay, looking at definitely cardiovascular disease, blockages. We've got GI issues. Some of you may have had GI issues, particularly poor bowel movement. If like constipation is an issue, chances are you're not drinking enough water or eating enough fiber to help move the process along. So it keeps your bowels, your intestines moving in the proper manner. So it can eating enough fiber helps with constipation, and then also diverticulitis. Diabetes. Okay, diabetes is an issue with low fiber, people eating low fiber, and what it does, it helps control the blood sugar, insulin, and then also body fat, and its storing of the body fat. Excessive body fat, obesity in America is outrageous. We have more information than ever, but we're not implementing any of it, and hopefully that's where I step in for you. But high fiber foods help satiate you, and they end up diluting energy dense foods. So most obese people end up eating high calorie, low nutritious foods, and that ends up causing a direct detriment to their overall health. Okay, and then high blood pressure. Okay, now one of the cool things that they had found in a study of some European countries, they studied 500,000 people across 10 European countries, and those who ate 30 grams or more per fiber per day were approximately half as likely to have their risk of colon cancer dropped dramatically than those who ate 50% of that. So if you're eating about 12 to 15 grams, your likelihood of colon cancer went up. Whereas if you're eating a lot more, then we end up not doing so well. Now, so let's dive into what some food sources are and the fiber counts to them. So I'll refer to my notes here. So apple with skin, about a medium size, is going to be about 3 grams. We got a banana has 3. A pear with skin has about 5 grams. We've got an orange is about 3. Prunes, a quarter cup of prunes is going to be almost 5 grams. We've got raspberry. Berries are high in fiber, so raspberries, blueberries specifically, not necessarily strawberries. Okay, so there's a big difference here. Raspberries at nearly 4 grams per half cup, whereas strawberries is a half cup at just under 2 grams. Okay, so it's like double the amount for the same amount of volume of food. We get into some vegetables. Asparagus is at 2 for this is a half a cup, so that's not a lot of asparagus, which means that's a good amount. Cooked broccoli has a nearly 3 for half a cup. Brussels sprouts are cooked; they're about 3 grams of fiber per half a cup. A large carrot has about 2. I end up having a lot of carrots in my super shakes. I have broccoli, typically frozen broccoli, so it's frozen wood. I don't know if they cooked that. They wouldn't have cooked it before. A potato with the skin. Skin's critically important. You get about 4.5 grams for a medium potato. Those find their way into my diet every once in a while as well. Spinach, a quarter cup is 2 grams, so pumping that out. Beans, huge fan of eating beans. I had some tonight. Black beans, looking at a half cup is like nearly 8 grams, so that's kind of the topper right now. That's a huge amount of fiber for such a little amount. So you would have to, if you wanted the same amount of fiber from strawberries as in cooked black beans, you're looking at what, like so half a cup is the serving size. We have almost 8 grams in 1/2 cup of beans. When we look at strawberries, it was about 1.5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 servings. So that is so that's 2.5 cups of strawberries to a half a cup of beans. That's kind of a big difference in volume of food and fiber. Garbanzos are about the same serving, about half cup, about 5 grams. Green peas. Peas are awesome. They find their way into my super shakes as well occasionally. We got 2/3 cup, which is typical serving size, is nearly 6 grams. Kidney beans for a half cup, about 6, and the list goes on for that. Crunchy peanut butter is just about 3 per serving size, which is 2 tablespoons. Now, for most of you, I wouldn't recommend having 2 tablespoons because that ends up bumping your fat up quite a bit, and then it kind of challenges the rest of your day with getting enough lean protein in to kind of balance having too much fat. It's the only thing about fat is that it's double the calories of protein and carbs. So protein, carb each have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9 calories per gram. So that adds up really fast. Last up, we have whole grains. So we've got barley. For half a cup of cooked barley is nearly 7 grams. Bran flake cereal. Bran is a powerful fiber component. That's at 5 for 3/4 of a cup. We got brown rice is a half cup is about 2, so not bad, but not nearly as good as beans. So if you're going to Chipotle, go for the bean option, not the rice. Okay, even brown rice. Okay, Whole wheat English muffin, one whole is about 5 grams. So that's not too bad if you're looking for to make a sandwich or something. So, excuse me. There you go again. Yawning. It's been a busy day, which is great. Let's look at a couple more things. Fiber related to cardiovascular disease. We found a research study that followed 16,000 middle-aged men from around the world for 25 years. Those who had consumed beans were 82% less likely to die from heart disease. That's kind of a big. And dietary fiber from whole grains had a strong protective effect as well. Fiber and blood lipids. We found that some more controlled studies that added fiber, soy nuts were 20% decrease in total cholesterol and 35% decrease in LDL cholesterol. We want high HDL and low LDL. And so you'll get that from eating obviously the right foods, but also a lot of fiber. Talk about GI function. So fiber helps stimulate bacterial fermentation, and that's prebiotics is helps fuel this. So onions, garlic, leeks, greens are rooted vegetables can kind of fall under that umbrella of prebiotics. Okay, so those are things that you eat. Probiotics you can get actually in pill form and whatnot. Not that you can't get prebiotics, but those are way more fun to eat. So the biggest thing that happens with lack of fiber in your bowels is that when that happens, your colon kind of freaks out and it starts squeezing, contracting, and that causes a lot of pain, which can result in creating diverticulitis, and that is just tiny inflamed portions of your intestines, and it's rather painful. It can become infected, and that creates even more pain. So imagine deep in your stomach you have an infection going on, and it's incredibly painful, especially to even eat anything. Not cool. I had one of my clients experience that, and it was just like very painful. It kind of shut her down for about 3 days and really resulted in no forward progress. Fiber and type 2 diabetes is consuming more fiber really helps with the blood sugar, absorbing it, keeping it moderate, and the insulin release, keeping that under bay. So, and then again, we go back to the issue with diabetes is having too much body fat. That's one of the main ones, and so the eating fiber creates satiety and you're full, the fullness factor, and that really helps. Okay. We go back to, we just kind of talk about the fiber and the satiation. So if you're eating low fiber, you're always appear to be hungrier than you actually might be, especially calorically speaking. So you could have low fiber, higher caloric food intake because you're not going to feel as full as much as you did. Okay. Let's move on to basically what I'm telling you here is we need to eat more plants, legumes, whole grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Okay, those are going to be the big thing. The majority of our diet should be plant-based. Okay, that is geared toward higher fiber, and this is going to be the best type of way to help lower all those issues with cardiovascular disease, lower your body fat, lower any adipose, like blood lipid levels as well. Lipid meaning fat in the blood. Okay. And one thing is to really make sure you're citing your carbohydrates and not being tricked by fortified or fibered up type foods like fortified cereals or nutrition bars or whatnot. So even Fiber One, it might have a bunch of fiber, but there's it's not real. Okay. Excuse me. Um, Now, one of the main downsides of eating too much, so there's huge upswings, but downside is that what's up, paper? One of the downsides of not of eating too much fiber is that your body's going to actually absorb less nutrients and the calories. Um, so that not absorbing the nutrition value of the foods that you eat is a little bit of a problem. Okay. Um, Now, another thing that we have issues is with eating too much fiber. You know, the joke of most is goes around beans. Let me think of this one jingle about. Oh man, it was from the Saturday Night Live. It was the cheerleaders. Uh, Taco, burrito, what's going on in your Speedo? You got trouble. You're blowing bubbles. So that was a pretty funny uh, a little joke, but we all have heard the joke about eating too much beans and having a little bit of excess gas. So that it can be an issue. Okay. Um, Now, in certain people, um, there's evidence. Yeah, I know. Taco, burrito. What's going on in your Speedo? There it is. That's it. It was Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry, classic cheerleaders in the skit. So let's go touch on lectins real quick. Lectins in grains can cause some issues in the gut lining and cause some inflammation in the gut and create leaky gut issues, ultimately not being cool for you. So let's get on to the summary and then kind of wrap things up here. So in summary, we want to make sure that we're having enough fiber. Now, the numbers for that, like women should be anywhere between 25 and 35 grams per day. It's a pretty good window to be in. With if you average around 30, that's solid amount of good nutritious food. Secondly, men should be clearing 40 to 45 grams per day. So women, if you're hitting about 30 grams a day of fiber, then we're making really good nutritional choices. Men, if we're hitting 45 or more, then we're making really good choices. You don't need too much more than that in your day. If you end up having a lot of fiber earlier on, that helps alter, decrease, alleviate different types of food choices that you can make, and specifically carbohydrates. So you can have a little bit more of a less fiber type of option for you. So maybe a white flour or something a little more processed than not, or maybe have a lot more white rice to mix in because you've already achieved your fiber goals for the day. Okay. Again, we're finding those in whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, vegetables, and fruit. Excuse me. Ideally, we want to make sure that we're getting enough fiber in actual whole foods and not necessarily fiber supplements. The big thing with that is that you're not going to be getting in the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, the phytochemicals, and the water from the plant foods. I've heard in the past, and it's a really good rule of thumb, is that we're mainly water, and so you should be eating a lot of your nutrition through vegetables because they are water. And the second that is that what the foods that we eat, we want to eat that we're recently living. Why? Because you get that energy, that nutrition, that value of that food, that life force of the food goes into you and then feeds your life energy, and so it's a really good thing. So and lastly, make sure that we are drinking enough food. Okay. Never a good thing if you are under drinking and over consuming in fiber. Okay, you'll have some issues there. Okay, especially with the soluble fiber, like it won't bind to it won't digest and break down with the water like it should. Quick little fun pointer, a couple fun pointers here, and then we'll wrap up. 1 cup of beans can contain up to 16 grams of fiber. So if you're really looking for one food source to kind of hit a grand slam with, it would definitely be beans. And you don't have to eat them all at once, but you mix that up throughout the day, have like a half a cup or a quarter cup here and there throughout the day, then you are definitely going to be adding a lot to bottom line. If you're juicing and you have like apples and pears, you get the juice from that, great, that's fabulous, but what about all the remnants, all the fiber that is left over from the food scraps? Highly suggest that you reuse that, maybe put it into muffins, maybe in the past I've scrambled eggs with the leftovers from juicing. We've got and that's pretty much it. Here's one last thing I would do. I like this one. Oatmeal, oats, right? An additional 3 grams of dietary fiber from oats can help decrease your blood cholesterol level by 2%. So that's why they kind of lean on having oatmeal as a really good source of complex carbs to eat throughout the day. So I hope you enjoyed this talk about fiber. Hope you learned something. And I know the big shocker for me was like kind of reevaluating what I should be prescribing as far as fiber counts go. I'm going to actually bump that up and aim people to get more fiber in. It's going to be one of the goals, because if you're getting enough fiber in, then I know you're picking good complex carbs and vegetables to eat. Okay, so have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I hope you learned a lot.